Okay, this time it is definitely recording.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because, they're basically men I just spent Monday talking to you.
Hello and welcome to this podcast that is being actually recorded for reals this time. Look, it's on 14 seconds already.
Wow.
I'm Yahtzee Croshaw.
And I'm a slapdash attempt at the slipshod.
No, you're not, you're Gabriel.
How dare you?
And this is the Show and Tell podcast, the second, technically the third Show and Tell podcast, but in very real terms not, because the second Show and Tell podcast is lost to the ages.
Much like that Leisure Suit Larry game.
Yes, except we actually made this one. But when I say made, we voiced
we
it.
didn't.
But it turns out we were speaking into void.
Which, it makes me feel like such a gigantic ass, because I was speaking as though there were people listening. And that...
Yeah.
If you're doing that when no one's listening, you're a fucking tard.
It's kind of like using TeamSpeak without realizing everyone else in the game is a bot.
Actually, we can start off with a fun anecdote with that one.
And here we go. Okay, straight back to gaming as a topic.
Not gaming. No, this is not gaming.
Oh, okay.
This is me doing something completely lame and pathetic. Which is, it's comedy gold.
These are always fun to know.
Yeah. Well, just one time, I was talking to a girl on my phone, and I'm trying to explain to her that, I did actually, like her for just more than her body, etc., etc. And basically went into this really long, very personal little rant about, how I am to be the way I am, and etc., etc., etc. And then after I finished and sort of waited for a response and nothing came, I decided to check my phone and realize that my batteries had died some 7 minutes ago. And I had been... emotionally venting my spleen to absolutely naught.
Venting to the wind. Okay, we'll stop referencing the last podcast because no one else listened to it, and so they won't know what the hell we're talking about. So we'll go straight into my first item. Although I will say that in the last podcast, I only had one of these.
I mean, I get one too.
Yes, we
Awesome.
get to compare. For the moment of the tape, we're talking about Kinder Surprises, a European confection in which small toys are held inside chocolate eggs. I'll probably pipe in some music now while we consume the actual chocolate. Bear with us. Aren't you finished yet? I've eaten all my chocolate.
Yeah, I'm not a sweets eater.
I am very fond of chocolate, as anyone who knows me will endorse.
Literally brightens up like a 5-year-old child at the mention of chocolates and cakes and shit.
Of course I do. That's what chocolate does. It goes straight to the brain and injects it full of the chemicals associated with happiness.
Hey, cool. Mine requires assembly.
So does mine. So what's yours then? I'll just describe it to the listener. I'm tipping out various blue objects and a skateboard. And of course, the Kinder Surprise has supplied us with a small picture with assembly instructions. It looks like I've got a skateboarding parrot. Oh, it's a tie-in for the film Rio. Oh, I feel like a shill now.
I have a picture of a skateboarding parrot. That blows ass.
Jesus.
Wait, it's a badge, because I want to wear this.
What the hell kind of surprise is that?
Well, we are surprised.
Yeah, I'm surprised that two separate Kinder Surprises, although I should mention from the same shop and bought from the same shelf, both contain shilling for the film Rio from the creators of Ice Age.
Oh, right, yeah, they're the shit one. Because there's Pixar and there's DreamWorks, and one of them makes stuff that I actually enjoy, and the other one sells crap at my face.
Well, apparently Shrek was good, and you can tell because every fucking film DreamWorks brings out, they say from the producers of Shrek.
It just made the most money.
Well, that makes sense.
And that's all that Mike Myers likes doing.
I'm not even going to assemble this skateboarding parrot. I'm just going to let him lie piecemeal before he gets picked up by a wandering chef and turned into nuggets for the party later.
We are having a party later with nuggets.
I remember Kinder Surprises being a lot better when I was a kid.
Well, that's because they weren't, brand-based. They weren't based on stuff, so you could get pretty much fucking anything.
I know. Like the crazy crocos.
Yeah, like what the hell is that? A transforming igloo. Awesome.
It used to be you'd always get like stuff you had to put together that made a clever little mechanism that let a little man fly up into the air or launch into space. But now if it's not just a pre-assembled figurine, it's just a thing...
Look at mine! Look at what mine is!
Yes, it's a plastic shield
Badge.
with a picture of Rio and they make sure to put trademark and copyright 2011 Fox in it.
Yeah, and you can't even see it that well.
I like how
it could literally just be something on my shirt.
I like how every time I see the word Rio, underneath it says from the creators of Ice Age. It's like that's the full title. That's the official name for it.
Lineage. Well, it is. This is like films have to have last names.
Rio from the creators of Ice Age. You just got to call it that.
Rio from the creators of Ice Age.
Yes. It's like having a name you have to explain. That just becomes part of your name. Like, there was a sitcom I saw once that gave the example of someone whose name was Donna Marie, but it was all one word. So everyone just called her Donna Marie, all one word.
I like a naturally occurring nickname. I like things that sort of emerge out of the ether like that.
Well, I find when I have to, like, spell my surname, I have to tell people it's Croshaw as it sounds, but without a W in the middle. Because most people call Croshaw, it's spelled Crowshaw. But for my family name is unusual, and that it omits the first W. Crazy, huh? You know what it means, Croshaw?
Nope.
It means a cluster of trees in which crows can be found. It's Old English.
You know, there's a bizarrely descriptive name for you.
I know, well, that's
that's
what the Shaw part means. And there are, of course, many surnames that end with Shaw. So there's a lot of
Pig Shaw.
a lot of chopping and changing. Like Bagshaw means a small clump of trees with badgers in it. Crenshaw means small clump of trees with cranes in it.
These are all things I did not know.
What's your name again? Morton?
Yes, I have no idea what that means.
Okay. Well, Gabriel, of course, is an angelic name.
Yep.
Benjamin is a Hebrew name. You know what it means?
Tall, whiny one.
No. I'm just going to ignore the implied insult there. It means son of the right hand.
Yeah, I was the right hand.
I've always thought it would be a great name for someone who was born out of a sperm bank.
There is a very onanistic aspect to that name.
Yes, I just thought, well, technically it means right-hand man. But that's a little unambitious, isn't it? My son's going to be second banana for his whole
Son,
fucking life.
you will make an excellent goon that will be killed at the penultimate scene of the film.
You know, I just realised I have an older brother. Perhaps that's what my parents were thinking all along.
Just had you for thematic balance.
Sucks to be them, that's why I left the country, and now I'm much more successful than any of them, so ha-ha.
Dad wanted to call me Cosmo or Oscar. Unfortunately, Mum was awake. Yeah, Oscar I could have rolled with. Oscar, I could wear Oscar.
Yeah, I could see you as an Oscar.
Yes, hello, my name is Oscar. But I mean, hello, my name's Cosmo. I'd make fun of me for that.
Perhaps it's because you're a grouch.
I wouldn't say grouch.
Cosmo. Is there even anyone in the real world called Cosmo?
No, and for good reason. It's one of those things you think about and then don't name anybody because you're not a fucking idiot.
I mean, normally you can think of someone famous who has the same name as you. Like, with Benjamin, there's Kingsley.
I've got Gabriel Byrne, and that's about it.
Or Netanyahu. Gabriel Byrne, wasn't he in Excalibur?
Fuck. He might have been. I can't remember Excalibur in detail enough, but I'm thinking of, I don't know, whenever I think Gabriel Byrne, I think Usual Suspects.
I really like Excalibur as a film.
It was a good movie.
Yes. I'm glad we agree. Move on from that topic as fast as our heels can carry us.
This will be the Gabe Yahtzee Circle Jerk Hour, where we will do nothing but agree on topics while this plays in the background.
Bring out your first item. Stop doing that.
Okay, my first item is not a beer, that's 10. That's separate to this.
A bottle of Cooper's Brewery Sparkling Ale?
Well, that wasn't the item, but okay.
Why did you place it in front of me then?
To move it out of the way so I can get to the stuff in my bag.
Oh, fine.
I specifically said this is not my item. I'm going with the same items I had last time too.
I thought you were just going with some kind of metaphorical thing, like you always do.
Hey, I like my genitals.
Okay then, so...
touchscreen.
The touch screen.
Yes,
or the touch screen
on my smartphone.
On your smartphone, which conveniently you didn't have to buy anything for.
Well, I learned my lesson after spending $16 on the last podcast. What was your budget for last podcast?
I had to buy that coffee.
Fair enough, alright, I take that back.
I didn't think we'd have to buy something every podcast. Just bring an interesting thing from around the house. I don't know.
But yes. I was thinking in a different
touchscreen and by extension E3.
Yarp.
And everything that's... I remember saying when we were doing the first podcast, we should really have done this a few days from now, so we can talk about all the videos and stuff. And indeed, we have watched a few videos now. Presumably, we've all seen the new things that are coming out on the part of Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Mostly it's just, please, please, please give us some money for this fucking motion control stuff that we got suckered into doing.
I know, Nintendo are such dicks. That's all I can think is like, man, these guys are like, they know how to make money, and oh my god, don't you feel stupid like to be Microsoft and Sony at the moment just for the whole and then now we're totally doing this too, and Nintendo's like, yeah, that's dumb, we're doing like, the old shit again.
Yeah, it's classic tactics. Lure the enemy away and then circle around and outflank them.
Damn in the guts. And honestly, I don't know what clone vets Microsoft are getting the humans that they put on stage from, but fuck, they need to improve the auto-learn procedure in those things, because
do they not look as thrilled as they could?
No, the problem is they look thrilled in inverted commas.
Right.
Like they don't know what looking thrilled is. They just have a program in their mind that says, look thrilled.
I mean the same way characters in L.A. Noire look, open quotes, like they're lying.
Well, not even that, because you can tell that's a human acting overtly and badly.
Yes, but these are just...
Yeah, these are people who don't know they're doing horrible non-humanoid behavior. They're just doing it honestly, and that's what makes them even creepier.
Pod people. Then.
Yes, pod people. We are having the fun with the Kinect system. Look, I am gesturing as a human would.
Yeah. It's interesting that we're talking about all the applications Kinect has in the non-gaming world, but my reaction is... Which are actually interesting, but my reaction is, well, I guess that's none of my business then.
I mean, I really do love the Kinect as an idea that has nothing to do with gaming. I love the idea of, I want to be able to walk into my house and go, lights, and have the lights come on, and I want to change a channel on the TV with a nonchalant gesture. It will make me feel like it's the future, and that will be cool.
You want your Minority Report computer where you can sweep everything all over the place.
Yes.
Wave your hands about. I think you still
Make for a jittery masturbation session, but otherwise, yes.
I think you still need buttons that have physical tactile feedback, so you know when a button is actually been pressed. But just for things like sweeping a window out of the way in Windows. Yeah,
exactly. Like tabs, you can just move things from left to right. I think there's a good realm for that kind of gestural control.
I mean, we already have that sort of thing with the mouse, of course.
Mouse looks still the best way of looking around.
And the touch screen, which brings us full circle. I've seen the controller now for the Wii U. I don't want to go into the name because I'm going to do enough of that in my written work soon. It's probably a mistake to bring up gaming topics on this because being a gaming journalist, I'm just going to be saving all my best material for my actual paid work.
Yeah, I'm harvesting all your shit for free.
Yeah, but I will say now, the Wii U controller looks like a fucking Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh, shit, it does too.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it does look like I hadn't thought that, but it does. It goddamn does look like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Well, that's why I'm a games journalist. I analogize like the best of them. I know. I can say,
that was a simile.
All right, I can say what things are like better than most. And it's going to have all the
dicks, mostly dicks.
It's going to have all the cross-platform games like Arkham City and Darksiders 2. Darksiders 2 is about death, apparently. They've done the war bit, now they're doing death. God knows what they're going to do when it's Famine's turn.
I don't... It kind of bugs me, I think, a little bit when games do really huge concept things. Like, now you gotta fight death, and it's like...
You don't fight death, I think you are death.
Oh.
All I've seen is some concept art and that 1 penny arcade strip. But it seems to me like if in the first character you were playing war, you would be playing death at this point. There seems to be contention over what the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are, actually. I mean, what do you think they are?
Was it war, famine, pestilence, and death?
Yeah, that's what I thought, but apparently pestilence is wrong.
Huh.
Yes, some interpretations, or I don't know, but I got shouted down last time I did a review of Darksiders by the usual suspects, saying that in some interpretations, or in the original text, or whatever, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are death, war, famine, and conquest, which I would think would fall into war's remit.
Yeah, that's what I like. It's like discussing which superpower would you have with friends, and I always say you have to try and keep it simple. If your power is based upon a really relative human term, then it starts to get a little bit silly. Like, what is conquest exactly? You know, that's what I mean. Like, war, war was a thing. Like, you can kind of point at that. Yeah. Pestilence and famine, okay.
Like, I have the power of healing.
Yeah.
Does that apply to people who've just undergone mental trauma?
Yeah, like that's... Again, once you get into the broad and relative spectrum of what human language is and what it means, then it becomes a non-physical tangible. I always think it has to be outside of a specific cultural marker.
I have the power of biscuits. I can control biscuits within the world.
Yahtzee, save me. That's a scone, you ass. I told you, biscuits. Well, yes, but in some areas of the United States, they use a scone-like thing to absorb gravy as a savory treat and call it a biscuit.
Well, and what country are you in, smart guy?
Damn, these relative terms.
If I moved to America, perhaps I would have power over scone-like objects.
See, this is, this is why I don't get superpowers.
My power is based on the general common perception of the word biscuit around me. That's why my power doesn't work on Jaffa cakes. Now we're ripping off a Mitchell and Webb sketch here, so...
Well, I'm not, but you're doing an exceptional job of it.
Yes. Yes, look at biscuit levitation on YouTube. It's a good sketch.
I always thought we could, given that these are basically just throw them to the wind for shits and giggles podcasts, so just
pretty much
seeing how stupid and annoying and dumb we could make these. Like, honestly, one that's just us describing webcomics to people.
Oh, I think we're doing a pretty good job of making them pretty stupid already.
Yeah, but this is still a conversation. Things are being discussed. Like, I want to get rid of even that.
So what? We just talk about our favourite bottom noises for the next hour.
I do. I like a cheek clap.
And not me. I like a meaty biffer.
No, I mean, no. Well, all right. Well, getting away from you making that noise, we'll talk about speeches at E3.
Oh yes. Well, speaking of bottom noises,
yeah. See what I did there? Bombs.
Yes, the same usual speeches at E3 as always. People going, "Yeah, we're good. We're everything's so exciting, and we're the most excitingest."
Okay, I mean, what were some highlights? Some things that stood out. Some things that
actually, I haven't watched the full-on presentations. I just watched a load of the trailers for the games.
The presentation again, I just don't. Surely Microsoft have the money to hire better actors. That's what creeps me out. Like, lightsaber on has been stuck in my head since watching that. I know it's been bounced around the internet a little bit already.
Well, maybe they weren't actors. Maybe they were just people who were working on the project, which is ideal, one would say. Or at least someone from the marketing department.
Lightsaber on! That's not how lightsabers work, for starters.
See, sometimes the approach is, let's bring out, the actual professionals who work for us, obviously Shigeru Miyamoto, amongst others, and just get them to reflect their genuine passion they have for their work. Because God love Shigeru Miyamoto, he hasn't lost an ounce of enthusiasm in all his years.
Yeah, he's like the gaming equivalent of Stan Lee.
I'd say Ed Wood.
Yeah, that's good too.
Well, actually, except that he makes good games.
Stan Lee, he's gaming Stan Lee. They should start inserting him in every game.
I can see that, actually, yeah.
Because he's not going to die. You just know it. He's clinging to life forever.
He's never going to die. Crazy. He's everyone's favourite uncle. He's, sort of desperately cheerful all the time.
Yeah. Happy in the face of even things like Game Boy Advance Pac-Man.
He's a weird chap, Stan Lee.
He's barking mad.
I always thought he just surfs along on general nostalgic goodwill. I don't think the guy was ever very good at dialogue. Having read his works. I mean, he comes up with good characters. He just can't write for shit.
Well, that's good characters half the battle. You just have to find someone who can fill the little bubbles you draw out of their heads.
That's why Marvel and DC both hire 10 million writers each now, I suppose.
Yeah, but that gets into a clusterfuck.
I guess every aspect of superhero comics is a fucking clusterfuck. Continuity for a start.
Yes, retconning, no continuity.
I don't read superhero comics, but I hear they're rebooting DC again.
Again, I know. So I swear this happened just a little because I remember. Shay, a friend of mine, yelling at me because he's a big comic book fan and loves comic books, and I do love the characters that these comic books have created. I really love the X-Men animated series, the Justice League animated series. I think they're fantastic because they're concise and sane. And when they rebooted DC again, 5 years ago, I remember thinking to myself, okay, cool. Okay, so they're going, all right, we're settling everything down. It's all gotten a little out of hand. We're going to have sort of set organized stuff now, and we're going to settle everything down, kill some characters off, start fresh. I was like, oh, okay, cool. It sounds like fun. I'd like to now get into that.
And which characters are we killing off?
I don't know. Fucking most of them, really. Well, I mean, they started you out with... You see, I've always loved the third and fourth tier characters in superhero stories.
Yeah, there's superheroes for fucking everything. If you look on, like, the wikis.
Yes, there are. But, I mean, that's what I love.
Like, someone noticed that if you replace the B in Batman with C, you get Catman, so they made a villain about that.
Yeah, and he's shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I love the shit villains. I love...
Some guy was, like, glancing at his desk, seeking inspiration, and came up with the calculator.
There was...
Or the Clock King.
Yeah, Clock King, Calendar Man. There was an episode of, I think it was one of the Batman's animated series, where... Again, I can't remember. I can only remember, like, slight details of it. It was... Someone was putting something in the water that was driving people insane and making them become... literally that. Like, they'd look at whatever they next saw would be their villain theme. And there was, like, Condiment Man, because he happened to be at a restaurant and he could shoot, like, ketchup and mustard at you.
It seems to be a common mindset to come into in the DC universe. Obviously, they found a way to refine the brain chemicals involved.
I can understand if you controlled fire and you called yourself Pyro, and then you went around solving fucking mysteries or whatever.
Or Fireman.
Yeah, Fireman.
But that's a little bit counterintuitive.
That's Mega Man-ish.
Yeah, there's
Cunt Man.
Yes,
what do you
Cunt
do?
Man. Not Cunt Man. That's too easy.
Cunt Man.
You know, what it is that annoys me about American superhero comics is that everyone's always the best at what they do in the whole world. I always think that's pretty lazy characterization. Because sometimes, I know this sounds strange, but sometimes I have quiet moments of my busy, hectic life, and I like to... When I'm excrementally, apocalyptically bored, I like to look on Wikipedia and read the pages for superhero characters from certain comic universes, because I'm interested in the concept of a superhero as a character.
I do.
I don't read superhero comics. I think they're interesting. Well, I've read, like, you know, The Usual Suspects, Watchmen, and all that. And I actually prefer Batman's villains to Batman himself. I just read Arkham Asylum Living Hell. I got the trade paperback, which I thought was pretty good, because Batman's barely in it, because Batman's the least interesting thing in anything to do with Batman. And, I was reading the Wikipedia page for Nightwing, and who, of course, as comic book fans will know, used to be Robin before he before continuity made him inconveniently old. And it says Nightwing is the best acrobat in the DC universe. Flat underline, just the best. Not just one of the best, not just a very good acrobat. He's the best acrobat in DC universe. And I was thinking, surely there's another acrobat in the world. I mean, you've been to Chinese circuses, you've heard of those. People who probably don't get distracted by supervillain fights or having to keep up a secret identity, so they can practice more. So they can practice more, and they are just better acrobats.
Best isn't a concept that's finite and there. Like, that's what drives me mental. It's just, best isn't one thing. If he has a cold one day, if he feels a bit shit, if he sprained his ankle, he is no longer the best. That's, you know, he is top tier. That's a fine conceptualization of the idea to me. But best is not a thing.
I always think the guy who's in second place is a much more compelling character. He obviously works harder.
Driven by some kind of mad lunacy.
Yes, obviously quite obsessed, considering he keeps track of his placing in the top 10.
And how do you gauge that anyway? Like, how do you gauge best acrobat? I mean, do they have like a superhero Olympics?
It's something to do with the fact that he's the only person other than his parents, apparently, because of course he used to be a trapeze artist capable of some crazy move.
He can totes do a backflip.
Yeah, the quadruple backflip from a standing start, which thinking about it would look fucking absurd. You'd look like a Catherine wheel.
I've always wanted to see someone just leap in the air as high as they can and then come down bolt straight on their own head.
I think I've seen YouTube videos of people doing that.
I'm going to have to look that up when I get home.
I'm trying to impress, usually.
Just straight up, straight down. Like,
but I always think it's a very American thing. It's always got to be the best. It's always got to be aspirational. And you compare it to British stuff.
Well, that's like, the Starfleet to
because there's Captain America in the Marvel Universe, there's a Captain Britain, just to make things fair, but that's not something British people would actually come up with. No, because our idea of superhero is Doctor Who. Just this sort of
was awesome.
flawed, doddering character, or at least he used to be before the new one.
He's doddering. You haven't watched any of it.
Who just happens to travel around space.
Bit bashful, a bit of the, did I just save the universe again? Oh, well,
I mean, my
okay.
point is, Batman isn't like a moral absolute. You know he's never going to do anything weird, like join the baddies or turn into a goose. He's just
I'm pretty sure that's
he's just going to be Batman. He's more of a plot device than a character.
Yes, it becomes a physical occurrence as opposed to
Indeed.
a thing.
Well, shall I move on to my next item?
Yes.
Because that was, it's a hop, skip, and a jump to get onto this topic.
Alexander Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yes.
And that's a mighty-ass book.
The Penguin Classics edition of The Count of Monte Cristo. It's a very fat book, very good to have on long plane flights.
I do, yeah. And you can get every Penguin Classics books as one big set, and it is like, you know, it's somewhere in the vicinity of 10 grand, and a big chunk of that is just the weight.
As I was saying, that's got to be a big chunk of buck.
I know, but I want to get that so much, though.
How would you get through them all?
Apparently, I read some review of the set as in and of itself somewhere that said that at the average rate a human reads is actually borderline impossible. it's 77 meters of books laid end to end, and it's just.
I think there was someone in the 18th century who was the last recorded person to have read every book published in his lifetime. But anyway,
See, that's gone for us now. There are going to be great TV shows, great films, great things that I'll never experience. Not because lack of trying, but just because there's too much of it now.
also, you've only got one gender, so you will never know what it's like to experience half of experiences available to humanity. Because you're stuck within one set of mindsets and one set of ghoulies. But The Count of Monte Cristo is my favourite book of all time, because it's
Revenge.
Because it's Alexander Dumas was the pulp writer of his time. It's nice, flighty fun with lots of sword fights and prison breaks and poisoners, and it actually contains 2 lesbians cross-dressing and eloping, which is always fun,
Cool.
considering the time it was written. But it depresses me. It depresses me, Gabe, the state of literary knowledge these days. Because I was talking to some friends of mine this weekend, and we were talking about E3, as we were earlier. Now we were talking about specifically Uncharted 3, and I was saying how Nathan Drake calls back to that whole John Carter of Mars thing, the great white hero coming to a place where things happen differently and therefore wrong, and therefore...
It's okay, brown people. I'll fix it.
And then he fixes it to make it right again and becomes their king.
See, this is called a T-shirt.
And one of the people I was there with, who isn't 14, said, yes, but the main character was black. And I was like, what? And they thought I said John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, the film.
That movie sucked so hard, which...
I agree.
I love John Carpenter. The Thing, They Live is one of my favorite fucking movies.
Halloween.
Yeah, Ghosts of Mars. What the fuck?
Halloween's one of the best films.
Yeah.
But to think that he thought I'd said that instead of John Carter of Mars. Classic Pulp Fiction, guys. Edgar Rice Burroughs. He wrote Tarzan as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It's... Do you read literature, Gabe?
I do. It is something I've always wanted to do, is save up and get this Penguin Classics thing and just have every, classically or deemed classic book.
Well, I like classic pulp, because when you talk about literature, that's just unreadable wank.
Yeah, I do fall into that category of, why do you like this? And again, it's like people who go on about really loving the movie Primer or anything by Todd Solondz,
It's
where
also
it's just
intellectual.
Yeah, no, it isn't. Being obtuse and complex for the fucking sake of it is masturbatory, and if you want to watch wank, give me a minute.
Well, you would say that, because you don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know, that's me not getting it. No, I get it. It's just bad. It's not well-organized storytelling. Primer was not well-organized storytelling. It was
and it's boring, which is the greatest condemnation for anything you do with your free time.
It was not me unable to work it out because I'd missed something. It was me not able to work it out because stuff had been deliberately withheld to look cleverer than it was. And
I've only watched Primer once, and I watched it on a slightly scratched DVD.
Yeah, so it's skipping everywhere.
Yeah, and every now and again I had to skip to the next chapter, and if there's any way to make that film more confusing,
Yeah, that must have...
it's that.
That must... Because as it is, I was watching it on a non-busted DVD that wasn't skipping, and it felt like someone had just skipped to the next chapter.
Yeah.
It's just like, huh? And I actually, went back. I was like, did I fucking skip a chunk here? There appears to be.
It's like Memento, but at least Memento was, in its own way, linear.
Yeah, well, Memento was linear. It was just reversed, and it was organized. And there wasn't like 20 minutes of exposition or 20 minutes of need to know information.
I never actually watched Memento to the end. Did he kill his wife? Actually, let's not spoil it on there.
Well, I mean, that's actually a topic for some level of debate.
Never know who's listening.
Well, it's about, is he what he thinks he is? Do habit and routine make his life possible? Are the memories that make him real memories, or are they the lies he tells himself to get through?
I like that concept. Are they really who you think they are? It's a good twist to have. I wrote a short story once where a guy where
it's a Futanari fanfiction.
What? What's Futanari? It's not Dick Girls, is it?
It's Dick Girls.
I had a feeling it was Dick Girls.
Dude, it's always Dick Girls.
I wrote a short story once from the perspective of the main character, but it turns out the main character was like 17, and that's an important plot point that's only introduced at the end.
Cool.
So, and the drawback of that story, of course, is that it will never be filmed.
I do love those kinds of things that are so within their medium that, moving from one to the other is difficult. I won't say impossible, never say impossible, because people said similar things about things like Fight Club.
Well, that's why it's dumb as hell to, adapt video games into films.
That's just confusing. It's like, hey, it's that thing I enjoyed playing that I'm not allowed to play anymore. I just gotta look at it.
Especially, let's just say it, Silent Hill. That there was a series where it works best as a game and not really as anything else.
Well, it's
atmosphere, dude.
Yeah, it's just an odd... It's already a visual medium. It's already a story that I'm observing. All you're doing is removing an aspect to it.
Yeah. It's like, games trying to be like films, and films trying to adapt games is like a man sticking his head in a pond to try to adapt to being a newt. They just work different ways.
So you went to a school that taught creation as well?
Actually, no.
No, you didn't. That's just...
Although in middle school and primary school they made us sing hymns. And every week we'd have one of the assemblies, because there'd be assembly every day where the headmaster would come on and read us something inspirational. But once a week the assembly was hymn practice, where we'd just sing hymns that the very fat and cheerful piano player, music teacher, would
hammer out on
would teach to us. And for the longest time I thought hymn was some kind of theatrical event we were going to be singing at some point in the future, and that's why we had to have hymn practice every week. After a few years I was thinking, Jesus, I want us to be good before we get rolled out for this, don't I?
Yeah, no. Instead it's just a bunch of people saying we're not worthy in key.
Pretty much. And telling God how smashing he is.
I know. That's why, the conceptualization of deities has always interested me, because I love the... I don't much bother arguing about the specifics of the occurrence of faith, because that's just meaningless, it's pointless, why bother? But within faith, I love discussions within faith. And just, things like that, like basically, what do you think God is, Q? Like, you're trying to keep him from showing up and just fucking with your shit?
Nah, that's a nerdy ecclesiastical debate.
Well, I remember I've caught a few family members on this, and everyone I catch doing it, I press on this one point really, really, really firmly, because I'm dying to know. I want to know. When someone refers to God as being male, I'm just like, okay, what do God's testicles produce?
Spunk. God spunk.
I know, but what is God spunk? Is it souls? And the best part is...
spunk that can shoot straight through a Boeing 17.
Yeah, and the best part is, people will think about it. People won't say, Gabriel, shut up, you're being an idiot. They'll go, that's a fucking, that's an interesting holy point. Why isn't there a whole, religious studies topic devoted to what's in God's testicles? Why does God have testicles? How big's God's penis? I mean, did he go for like the gentleman's 6, the showroom 8, or is he, bragging with a foot long? Or are we talking like light years here? I mean,
I always just assumed he was smooth around the bend.
Well, again, that would make sense. Like, being gender necessitates two. And it's the be-all and end-all. It's meant to not have a duality.
Looking at the old meat and 2 veg, it's always struck me as something that was kind of tacked on as an afterthought.
Yeah, what was it?
Like, well, we need to put this somewhere. Let's just staple it onto the end of something.
Fuck it, there it goes.
There you go.
Yeah, where can we put that? Somewhere where you don't have to somewhere where I don't have to look at it constantly.
Yeah, ideal place to be kicked. Right in the join.
What was that old joke about, of course God's a woman, she's the only one who'd have the idea of protecting the testicles with a thin layer of skin?
Yeah, and the old joke about God being a civil engineer, because only a civil engineer would put a wastewater system through a recreation zone.
But I mean, that's my point. Is debating about the simple topic of why do you have faith? Why do you believe in God? It's meaningless because faith is outside of reason. You can't reason with someone who's not using reason. It's you've already lost.
I remember there's a great Doug Stanhope routine. Again, YouTube this, where he says, if you had never heard of religion, never heard of the Bible, and you just stumbled upon it in a used bookstore, would you look at it and say, well, this is exactly the kind of thing I've been looking for to base my entire society around. Thanks.
No.
He has a related routine where he says, if marriage didn't exist, would you invent it?
That's a good line. I like that.
Yeah.
If marriage didn't exist, would you invent it?
Hey, honey, we've got a great thing going on here. It's we've got such great mutual devotion. I think it's time we brought the government in on this.
Phil, are you fucking insane? I don't want any more of your ideas. You're out of the idea circle.
Speaking of which, what's your next item?
Honestly, I'm a little bit torn about whether or not to do my next item or to modify it onto something else.
Go and modify it. Because I remember what your last time it was, and I got very angry.
I almost want to do it now out of spite. Well, okay, my last item was crumbs from my sandwich, which I had used to illustrate the idea of sand, which I then wanted to get onto.
It's nothing like sand.
It sort of is.
In that, it's a collection of very small things.
Yeah, how else would you describe sand? Proto-glass?
Okay, then an ant farm is a sand.
No, I want to get an ant farm.
Not that we're being tangential now.
No, but I had wished to discuss sand as I've been playing L.A. Noire a lot lately, and
I complained that you might as well just walked up to my shelf of games there and just picked out a Sandbox game and said, there you go.
Yes, but I like to come at things from odd angles.
In future,
just ask my girlfriends.
In future, could these items be just the 1 degree of separation from?
No, that's no fucking fun. I like coming at things from it's more fun this way. I like stretching and because that's how my fucking mind works anyway. Is it starts somewhere off peculiar and then wanders back to something that I've actually just dealt with.
But it undermines the format, man. Might as well just say a random word rather than.
Well, you do realise we are doing a completely spoken show and tell.
Yes.
Well, for all they know, we're not even here. We could be in separate rooms.
Yeah, in a
We're
dust
recording
bin.
this from a cupboard. Yeah.
Yes, I'm in a bin.
Yes, and
I'm eating eggshells.
I'm in a loft, crying and wrapped up in tape.
So yes, you were talking about sandboxes.
Well, yes. I mean, it's another one of those upsetting things where they've taken something really fucking good, taken something else they've done really fucking good, and these two things should never ever ever be mixed.
Like toffees and Spitfires.
Yeah. I mean, electricity and water. I love both those things. They're fucking awesome. I don't want them together and on me.
I like how you're so enthusiastic about it. You just turn on a tap and go, fuck yes, water for me. All the water I could want.
To go back to if marriage didn't exist, would you invent it? If taps didn't exist, you'd fucking miss them.
Yeah, you fucking invent those.
Yeah.
You need water, that would be nice, thank you.
I'm thirsty. Well, shit.
Guess I'll just go and stick my head out and hope it rains.
Yeah, well, it's because at the heart of it, there is a really fantastic adventure game, and the point at which I hinge my frustration with this game on.
Well, it's an all-right adventure game.
Well, they went to so much effort for that core aspect.
Yeah.
They have a whole new facial capturing method. To get actors in. to do this really cool thing where you can really look at their faces, and it's an actual face. It doesn't, even Mass Effect was nice, but it doesn't even hold a candle to this. And
do you really think Mass Effect had good faces?
Well, nice. I didn't say good.
I just remember a load of mannequins sort of bobbing at each other for a few hours.
No, that was the Microsoft show. Zing.
Callbacks.
Yeah. And they've gone to so much effort for this one thing, and then fucked it up by draping all this excess shit off of it. It's just really disappointing to see.
I like to drape excess shit off things. Never mind.
No, but I mean, that's the core. That's the game that they went to the effort to make. That was the effort. The effort was this whole new face thing, and the effort was, that. So they've got this really brilliant thing, and then they wreck that by ruining the plot pacing, by making it a sandbox game, and by having a sandbox that I don't need to actually ever do anything in.
I am going to speak from ignorance now, and I could be entirely wrong, but I think the whole sandbox and action aspects were added when Rockstar took the project.
Oh yeah, I'm figuring it's exactly that.
Sandboxes are very similar to Rockstar games. Yeah. Sandboxes like GTA 4 or Red Dead Redemption. It was particularly with that really weird movement engine that feels like you're driving a car when you're walking around.
I mean, it's the old dialogue thing I've had where I'm being taken out to the sandpit, and I love the sandpit. It's fucking brilliant. I get to run around and do everything I want in the sandpit. No one yells at me. I love the sandpit. And it's like, yeah, but Gabe, this time you can't make your own sandcastles. Oh, okay, so what am I doing instead? Oh, we have these prefabricated ones we'd like you to play with. And I'm like, that's not very fun. Do I have to play with them? No. Oh, okay. Also, we're going to be reading you a story and getting you to solve puzzles while we're doing this. And I'm like, oh, cool. I like, stories are fun, and I love solving your puzzles. Yeah, but, while that's going on, we're going to stop telling you every now and again and make you go play with the prefabricated sandcastles. Yeah. But you said I didn't have to do that. Oh, yeah, after a while you can skip them. Why can't I just be sitting inside, comfortable, listening to a story and solving puzzles? That would have been fun.
Yes, I think the whole sandbox thing is antithetical to the very notion of a story. Yeah. And adventure games were always the most story-based of the genres, and a story is, at its heart, a linear thing, where everything has to lead on to the next thing.
Without a game, without a story, an adventure game is just click the thing.
It's been a point raised by a couple of parties that I've read, but GTA 4 is basically a game where everything you do outside of the story is non-canon. It's all just like, alright, you've had your fun, back to the missions.
Stop it.
Nico did not murder 10 million people, let's forget about that.
You paid your bribe, ignore it all.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, I think, Nico's brother would have probably had some words to say. It's like, dude, cousin. I saw you on the news. Yeah,
cousin. It's his cousin.
I saw you on the news murdering like a dozen fucking people. I don't know if we can hang out anymore. I mean, we've killed people, but that, there was cause and stuff. That was war.
Yeah.
You're a bit insane. I'm going to report you to The Hague.
Now, my favourite sandboxes are things like Just Cause 2, when the story isn't really come into it much.
That's what I mean.
Just Cause 2 is, yes, we've made prefabricated sandcastles. Now you can kick them all down and smash them with hammers.
It's the lying to me that gets to me. It's not what's occurring, it's that I'm being bullshitted to while it's happening.
Yes, don't lie to us, games.
Yeah, I know.
We know where you've been. We recognise the lipstick on your cover.
If you want to be a big, dumb, smash stuff sandbox, that aces. Just sell yourself on that. You don't need to go, oh, and we have a story. It's like, no, I don't want a story when I'm outside in the fucking sandpit.
I want to break stuff.
Yeah. Give me some cool, fun stuff. What, you mean I can tether a dude to a thing and shoot it and it takes off and drags him along behind it for miles? Fucking awesome. There's a story? I don't know. I don't fucking care. I've been doing this for the past 3 hours.
Red Faction Armageddon comes out this week. That of course, Red Faction Guerrilla was a game with an awful lot of smashing about. It's based the entire game about smashing stuff up. Just a pity it was set on Mars, where the terrain is just red dust, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Oh, this is exciting.
Red Faction's gimmick has always been like terrain destruction, destroy everything. But in the first Red Faction game, you could only destroy the terrain around the levels, and the actual level parts, the corridors, the metal corridors stuff, you wouldn't be able to break at all. And I think the same was true of Red Faction 2. I didn't play that one. Well, everyone told me I'm not missing much.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
And Red Faction Guerrilla is the opposite. The terrain stays exactly the same shape, and you can smash up every built object, every building.
I suppose that kind of makes a little more sense.
Well, I guess that isn't as interesting as I thought it was.
Well, it makes a little more sense, I suppose. I mean, if someone shot a building with a rocket, I'd expect the building to fall down, not the ground to go away.
Pretty much. Well, I think the first one was set in, like, underground mines, mostly.
Oh, right. I don't know. I never really played much of those games.
It was all about like bringing down stalactites onto tanks and things.
Yeah, cool. It's an uphill battle to get when you play like sort of first person shooters these days.
I like first-person shooters.
The thing that I don't want to be one of those people that's just like, oh, I don't play those anymore, like a fucking snob, because I fucking hate that kind of high art, low art snobbery.
Yeah, like, I hate cover-based combat games, but there are a few games that have cover-based combat and that I like, and usually because they do stuff other than the cover-based combat, because it's a perfectly functional gameplay mechanic.
It just can't be the only game.
Yes, I don't want you to base the whole game around it. It's boring as shit.
Yeah, it's just like making a human that's just hands.
Yes, he's going to be able to pick up a lot of things, and he'd make a lot of friends.
That's
in
awesome,
a
but he
nudist
can't see anything. He needs eyes and a mouth.
He'd be like a vital part of any orgy, that guy.
Yeah, that's a weird fucking mental... Not the orgy even, just a thing composed entirely out of hands in a humanoid structure. Yes. Just scurrying about like this.
Slightly nightmarish, isn't it? It's almost a human centipede sort of thing.
That's a good movie that made my ex-girlfriend cry so much she yelled at me to turn it off.
I have not watched it, and I never will.
That's how I review that film. Gabriel, what do you think about Human Centipede? We nearly broke up because of it. I didn't want to turn it off. I was in the middle of watching this fucking film. And bear in mind, this, my former girl was not a, prissy little sort of, oh, I don't like things. She used to brag about the weird shit she, could sit and watch.
Yeah.
So this just pissed me right off.
Well, let's not talk about Human Centipede, because I'm still plagued by...
The moment when the German doctor is screaming, "Feed her!" is one of the best things ever.
Can we please not talk about it? Because every time I sit down to eat something...
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, the thing that makes Yahtzee squirm.
My mind just impishly produces something about it.
Alright, so we won't talk about that. We'll talk about something else. Kittens.
Yes, let's
puppies. You're a puppy man, aren't you?
Actually, let's talk about my next item. This is almost getting related now.
Holy shit.
Yes.
It is a package of Pepto-Bismol.
Yes, which one would consume when one was feeling nauseous, perhaps from having seen the Human Centipede. And this small package of Pepto-Bismol is my only souvenir from my trip to New York. Look, it's got a price tag on it.
Like, tell me you at least took some photos.
It's got a price tag in American dollars.
What is it in American?
I think some of the people I was with took photos.
$5.99.
But the point is, I was there for like 2 days, and I've done this more than once, just flown to America for 2 days and flown back, and I don't think I will ever do it again, because it is a horrible way to spend a week. It was in New York for the Webby Awards, when The Escapist was winning best, one of the occasions in which the Escapist has won Best Gaming-Related Website, because we've won that a few times. I got there the day before the day of the ceremony, and I was there with another guy from the company, and everyone else was arriving the next day, so we thought we'd spend the night on the town in New York.
It's New York, yeah. I mean, that's one of my hopes and dreams, is to go to New York and go head out in the town and get trashed.
Yeah, so we started out at the hotel lobby with whiskey and cokes, and went to a nice restaurant where I had rabbit for the first time. It was very nice, and we had gin and tonics. And then I mentioned that I was quite a cider drinker, as the Wurzels would say. And I'll explain it to you later. British listeners know what I'm talking about. And we ended up at an Irish place, drinking cider and singing along to the jukebox. And I have only vague memories of getting back to the hotel. I remember 300 being on the TV, but I could have been passed out and dreaming by that point.
You frequently dream of muscular Spartan soldiers.
But I woke up with the worst case of absolutely everything that could be wrong with the human body conceivable, to the point that I almost missed the award ceremony. The ceremony that I was
That's a great anecdote.
The entire reason that I was there. I very nearly missed it. I missed the initial thing where they all took photos of the winners. But I got to the ceremony. But yeah, that was the most sick I've ever been from a night on the pisher. I was puking until blood was coming out.
God damn.
And when everyone else arrived around the afternoon, they rang up my room and said, "Hey, why don't we all hang out in New York for the ceremony?" And I was like, down the phone. So please help. So some of my colleagues came around with like armfuls of Pepto-Bismol and paracetamol and medicine and a dialysis machine and water. And we just went through I just like crammed as much of it into my system as I could. Managed to function long enough to eventually get to the ceremony. Didn't go to the after party though. Fuck that. We ended up outside a club. I looked down some smoky stairs into a dark room where there was lots of bright lights and flashing and thought, I am so not up to this.
That's a little sad. You should have powered on.
That's my big drinky story. My other one is when I woke up in hospital.
Oh, nice. Tell me that one.
Well, I drank a lot of beer and then I woke up in hospital. It's not as interesting a story, is it? Because this one doesn't have Will I Am in it.
Well, you could add some flavor text to it. I mean, you know.
Okay, I met Will I Am in the hospital, but I didn't. I met Will I Am at the Webby Awards ceremony.
It's annoying because I see him interviewed and I like what he says, and then I hear songs like My Humps and I just get this pathological desire to murder whoever's responsible for it.
He seemed nice enough. He said,
well, I'm sure he is. It bugs me. I'm sure he's a really cool guy.
He said I had a nice hat. He had a very similar one on at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, he's a cool guy. Like that's quite cool. It's just My Humps is one of the stupidest. I mean, My Humps is the kind of thing that if you wrote it on a bathroom wall, people would mock you for, you know, how stupid what you just contributed was. And like strangers would just, you know, oh, did you write that? What the fuck's wrong with you?
If you showed up with those lyrics at a rap battle, you would be kicked out the door and curb stomped.
You know, there's a guy writing. I remember one of the first times I realized, oh, university hasn't gotten rid of the idiots either. That's a shame. Was when I was in one of the university little study cubicles, and this was, you know, one of my first days there, and I looked up, and written in the study cubicle in like, you know, Nico was just, when I root my girlfriend, I stick my thumb in her bum. Now, there wasn't a testimony to the efficacy of this technique. It wasn't like a, you should try this too, sir. She really enjoyed it. It wasn't, I really enjoyed it. It was just there.
Obviously a boast.
Well, no, because if it was a boast, it'd be like, yeah, and she loved it, or she fucking hated it, and I did it anyway, because I don't care and I'm cool. It was just, I do this, I do that. Yeah.
I degrade women.
Well, it wasn't even written in a manner that one would define as him doing it in a degrading way. That's the thing, it was neither up, it was not down, it was just there.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
When I make love to my lady wife, I like to insert one of my digits into her brownest, most forbidden of openings. You know who else? Who else? Let me try that sentence again. You know who else was at the Webby Awards ceremony? Like on the table next to mine?
Who?
Stephen Colbert.
See, that's actually fucking interesting.
Well, not so much because I didn't actually talk to him.
Well, you should have.
You know how the Webby Awards speeches work?
No.
I know you do, because I told you on Monday, but I'm going to tell you again.
I forget things very easily. I've got a sieve for a head.
Well, they have a lot of awards to get
I've
through.
also been drunk for 3 days.
Yes, and clearly working to continue that.
Yahtzee. See, that's where you're, you know, what you did was a rookie mistake. The Pepto-Bismol's a nice try, but you just have to power on. Now, granted, after that, you will want to die. And unlike my dear friend Yahtzee here, I have been very drunk very frequently. I think most of 2009 I was pretty much drunk.
A much more storied drinker is Gabriel.
Yeah. Let's see, I once got through a few bottles of stuff and then got hospitalized, and they had to get 5 orderlies to hold me down because I couldn't work out where I was and kept thinking they were trying to steal my organs.
Did you get the saline drip?
No. Fortunately, they got my dad. I had a blood alcohol content of 0.304.
I got the saline drip. I don't know what that number means.
That means 0.304% of my blood was booze.
That still doesn't sound like a lot.
It really doesn't until you start to break that concept down.
The concept of blood.
Yes, and how much of it is allowed to be something else.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's. I remember the very first time I got drunk, it was in a combination of Passiona, and Passiona, for people who aren't aware, is a saccharine, sweet, passion fruit flavoured soft drink, which will completely mask the taste of the vodka you're drinking and allow an inexperienced 17-year-old self to...
Doesn't most flavoursome stuff do that to vodka?
Well, yeah, to vodka, because vodka's a neutral spirit. Anyway, the last thing I remember of that evening, and again, this is my first experience with booze, last thing I remember of that evening is just going, this doesn't even taste like booze, yummers, and just drinking this stuff. My eyes click open, and it feels like someone had, over the course of the evening, rubbed them with steel wool. They are burning. And gradually, it's like when you power a computer on, bits of my brain are clicking in. So different senses keep coming online, and I'm discovering things for new. Like, hey,
blue.
Yeah, like, wait, what just happened? Where am I? How did I get here? Where are my clothes? And then, honestly, so I was laying on the ground of a friend's house. It was where I started, so that, that was clicking in. I'm like, okay, that's okay, I'm safe. Laying on the ground of a friend's house with a blanket over me, in my underpants.
I had a similar where are my clothes feeling.
Also, 5 minutes later, I realized I was on a rollerblade.
Nice. I had a similar where are my clothes feeling on the occasion I woke up in hospital, and it turned out the answer was in a nearby sack covered in puke. But anyway, if the listener would be so kind as to mentally backtrack to the Webby Awards ceremony I was talking about. When they do the Webby Awards, they've got hundreds of awards to give out. They've got a lot of categories. And
what's the silliest one, just out of curiosity, in your opinion?
I didn't even pay attention.
Best YouTube comment?
I didn't pay attention. I'd only paid attention to the bits that were relevant to us.
Most creative use of the word fag.
Or, most gratuitous use of the word fuck in a serious screenplay. Hitchhiker's reference.
Zing.
But yes, so they have to rattle through the awards really fast. So you're not allowed lengthy acceptance speeches. In fact, you're only allotted 5 words. You get onto the stage, you take your award, you say 5 words, and then you're off. Stephen Colbert's contribution was me, 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 me. I think he was going for the...
He wins at Ego.
Yeah, he was there for the Ego Award. No, he was there for the Internet Personality of the Year, which is basically the Ego Award.
It's an interesting game to pull. I remember, the whole Stephen Colbert thing reminds me of I'm a big fan of professional wrestling, and I was watching Triple H get interviewed once. And he said he likes it when he's a villain better because it means if he yells at someone in real life, they don't get upset with him for it.
I run into the same thing.
Yeah, you're a fucking shining example of that. I've literally had people come up and speak to me and say, hey, Yahtzee was just mean to me, but it's okay, he hates his fans. And I keep trying to go, no, he's like, just...
I don't try to be mean to them.
Well, people think
I do.
Well, that's the thing. It's not that you're mean, it's that you don't respond to them with the same bizarre, bright-eyed enthusiasm that they come to you, so they presume
of course
that you
I
hate
don't.
them.
I don't know who they are. They frighten me. I think I might be killed.
Some of them have been very fucking creepy.
Yeah, I guess you mean in your position of hanging out with me a lot. Scarecrow told me a story that once I met him in the city, and Scarecrow being a mutual friend. That's not his real name.
He's a real person. We haven't just built someone out of straw to call a friend and have tea with.
Well, not in this case.
No.
But I met him in the city once at the station, and we were chatted on a train for a bit. Then I got off at my station, and he told me later that someone immediately walked up to him and said, "Was that Yahtzee you were talking to?" And I had to just sort of tolerate that person for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to sound like a twat, aren't I? Talking about my famous
It's so
business.
hard being famous. I was once approached by a member of the plebeian class on the train.
Oh, what a bore.
You don't make money from your intelligence or
Can you
creativity.
imagine they actually thought to speak to me?
He probably has to earn a living lifting things.
Here's a hot tip for visitors to the Manor Bar. Don't look terrified of me and ask me questions about gaming, because I like to show off my knowledge. Don't just say I love your work, because there's nowhere to go from that conversationally.
See, the thing is, okay, I take an own it attitude toward any kind of awkward situation. I've almost, the process of deconstructing my shame to the point where I have none. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely experience. Honestly, you just take that and turn it into something fucking strange and weird. That's what I'd do.
You know what, actually, while I'm here, I'm going to give out, I'm going to make a declaration. If you see me in real life, come up to me, tell me what your favourite game is. I will tell you why you're wrong, and perhaps recommend a better one, unless you be a smart ass and say Silent Hill 2, which is documented as my favourite game.
In which case he will know that you aren't being creative and will despise you.
Yes.
And then as I am under his employ, I will have to punch you in the face.
Yes, and throw you out. Mm-hmm. Perhaps one, then the other. Perhaps the other, then the one.
Maybe some headbutts.
I think we're burning out. We're like ending on a flame. So yes, I'm just confirming. Yes, the recording is still going.
Yeah,
it was this.
Yeah. It was at this point. It was literally at this point. We were like, hey, well, that was fun. We've hit a natural end.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, we didn't even have to say those words. We just looked at each other. We're like, this is coming to a close.
There we go.
You know what Yahtzee said? Hey, Gabe, you want to hear something funny? And I knew the second those words were out of his mouth, we haven't been recording.
I think it was my tone.
Yeah.
For future reference, if the little red light is flashing, that means it's in standby.
That is a little counterintuitive. I will admit. That's.
Any closing thoughts for our many fans?
No,
obviously not.
Yeah, no, I tried to have one and then it died.